Hello everyone, my name is Alicia Jackson, licensed professional counselor, and welcome to my channel. As today we are reviewing Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 13. We provide a quick therapy review of these couples, and we get to learn and kind of discover what's going on in all these interesting dynamics that's happening in these couples, as they are definitely showing up as they met the experts this week to kind of discover and hopefully resolve any last questions they have about their marriage before decision day. So before we get into it, of course, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment below. I really want to hear from you guys. First, we have Jasmina and Michael. I want to even say and note that it was one whole hour into the episode, and we didn't really even see anything from them until they met with the expert. So that kind of concerned me because again, it brought to what Jasmina talked about in earlier episodes, how they don't talk much. And I thought they were getting better. And they did say that to both of the experts that they are getting better. I've seen it. It's not giving that we're connecting. So Jasmina meets with Dr. Pepper and Michael meets with Pastor Cal. And both of them are saying that they're hopeful. Things are moving in the right direction. Things are going well. So Michael shared with Pastor Cal that he was starting to do things out of obligation because he was saying this is what a husband does, and wanting to make a connection with her. And because he was doing that, then the feelings came. So Pastor Cal was helping him to make that connection as to that's why the feelings came. And so that he also said that, the same thing's going to happen for Jasmina. And I was like, I don't know. I'm not so sure about Jasmina. She has really not let her walls down. 5 weeks into the process of this. And so they only have 3 weeks left. There's still these concerns of like trust and feelings. And so that's something that usually happens, by week 3 or 4 in this process. So they're kind of behind, and it's because of their communication hiccups that they had along the way. They were fighting about nothing, and now they're in a space where it seems like, I don't know if Jasmina is truly being honest in this process. She says that she needs for Michael to share more, and I have really only seen Michael share. Like, I don't know much about her relationships, her connections with her parents. I don't know much about any of that. I know so much about Michael. I know about his relationship with his sister. I know about the death of his family members and how that has impacted him. And I just don't know much about her. And so it's interesting that she feels like she needs to hear more from him and see more from him before she even lets any walls down. It's almost like she needs for him to put in all the work before she starts to give him just a little effort. And I don't know if that's fair, especially in this process. Pastor Cal also talked about how he felt that Michael should initiate touch. I'm really cautious about that. I disagree. I think that feelings should definitely be present before touch. Touch happens, and there needs to be consent. There needs to be a conversation about it. She did say at the volleyball game that she isn't stiff arm with him, and that she will engage in touch. But she said it like kind of under duress, and because she was in front of people. That's my impression of it. I'm curious if Jasmine is like 100% in this. I'm curious. I really feel like Michael is really trying. He's bending over backwards. He's scratching his head, trying to figure this out. And Jasmina's like, well, I need to see more. She did say with Dr. Pepper, that she is seeing like and having glimpses of moments of feelings, but she's hesitant to act on them because they only happen for a moment and it's not the majority of the time. I'm wondering or I would have really liked for Dr. Pepper to kind of explore that a little more, to what's happening in those moments that feelings are starting to form there, and to really ask Jasmina asks herself, like, what's happening in those moments that you're getting feelings from Michael, and what's happening in those moments that you're not having feelings for Michael. Is he doing something, or is there something that's happening there that's not working for you? That is something that I wanted to hear from her, but we didn't. So we shall see. You know, once they met after a meeting with the expert, Jasmina said that she is going to, you know, try to open up more for Michael. And I'm gonna hold her to it. She did say that she was gonna stop picking fights with him, and she has. So I'm really trying to be hopeful. I really feel like there isn't really a real valuable reason that has been voiced. Okay, let me say that has been voiced, that this couple can't work. Now, if she's just not attracted to him and as a whole, that needs to be said. Like, I feel like that is what's under the covers that hasn't been said. But we shall see as this couple keeps moving forward. Next, we have Noy and Steve. Oh boy, this was an episode for them. So Pastor Cal meets with Noy, and he talks to her about her social media, and Dr. Pepper meets with Steve and also talks with Steve about her social media as well. They're both going to talk about the same thing, which is finances and social media, because that's really kind of the crust of what's happening here, the lack of communication that's happening in their marriage, and also their finances, which is a part of the lack of communication that's in their marriage. What I will say is, just observing Noy, because I watched it twice. I watched this episode, and I usually watch every episode twice before I review it. But watching it, I was looking at her body language, even when she was talking with Pastor Cal. It was very young. It was very young. And so he was talking about social media and discouraging her from posting, and she was like, yeah. Yeah, and so it was almost like she was taking in the information and was like, yeah, okay. And then we really saw when she met up with Steve that she said, you know, it's my social media. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I don't know. I feel like there's just this part of her that maybe has been deprived of something, and she just doesn't want to do anything that is outside of what she doesn't want to do. Like, there's some rigidity there. It's like, you feel that way, but this is what I want to do. I want 3 kids. I want you to work a full-time job. So what that you are an entrepreneur? And we find out that Steve does have a nice chunk of change in his bank account at the after party. So it's like, and is able to sit down and cultivate a plan with her, but it's not what she wants. It's not in the box that she wants. And sometimes, can we be honest, marriage doesn't fit in this nice like box and how we want and what we dreamed about when we were younger. It looks different. It looks different, and we have to be a little flexible. And I just don't see that flexibility with Noy. So I'm really concerned about that. Dr. Pepper was talking with Steve, and she was saying, you know, it really sounds like Noy is not comfortable or is scared to talk about her feelings, and so I wonder what would help her feel comfortable. And you know, I'm less concerned about what will make her feel comfortable, because I really feel like Steve has made her feel comfortable from what I'm seeing. I'm more concerned about what it is that's making her feel afraid. What does she fear? What does she fear will happen if she uses her voice? She said that with Pastor Cal, when he asked her about that, that she said, well, I just haven't done it before. And she really, like, that was evading the question. She didn't answer it. So I really would have liked Pastor Cal to say, I get that you've never done it before. And so still, what is it about speaking your voice, using your voice in a relationship that makes you uncomfortable? What's the fear there? How is withholding your feelings from your partner protecting you? And they come out, you know, last episode she told him to kiss her. Okay, this episode she said, I'm gonna do what I want to do. So it comes out, there's times where but it comes out aggressively, or she shuts down. And so this is going to be an issue with this couple. As Steve is really putting forth effort. He's showing up for her. He's communicating vulnerably. He's making space for her feelings. Even when they had debriefing after the expert, he brought it up to her. He said, okay, so But no, what is it? You feel like I'm not enough. What is it that you feel like I'm lacking? Like, let's talk about it. He initiated the conversation about finances. And even the conversation about finances wasn't enough because she wants him to get a job. She wants him to get a 9 to 5 job. And it sounds like he is really more leaning to the entrepreneurial life. And that is causing her some dis-ease. So I'm really going to need for Noi to kind of meet Steve in the middle. Really meet him in the middle on this, because there needs to be some flexibility. It's not going to be marriage. Is not. It's really not going to be the tailor fit. How you dreamed about it and happily ever after, and we're going to have 3 kids and it's going to be wonderful. And I'm like, how are you going to plan to have a child in a year, but you can't communicate your feelings? Like, this is a recipe for a disaster. We have to get there. So I'm really hoping that they can grow in this area, especially Noi, of communication and finding her voice in this relationship, because Steve is making room for it. He's making space for the vulnerability. Unlike other couples, which we'll get to later, Steve is making space. He really is. So, Noi, hoping that you hear me. Lean into it. Lean into it. All right, next couple. We have Lindsey and Mark. Oh my. Whenever they're fighting in the kitchen, it just makes me, it almost activates me a little bit. I'm like, oh, they're in the kitchen fighting again. They do not hear each other. Watching them fight is probably one of the most aggravating things for me, at least. It's just so, they're just like, this is what I need from you. This is what I need from you. Insult, insult, insult. And it's like, then Mark tries to concede, and then Lindsey rejects the conceding and throws more insults or walks away or threatens a divorce. And it's just like, oh my goodness. This is not communication. I don't think either of them heard each other. It was just really what Lindsey said towards the end of the episode, when after they met with the expert. She's like, well, you say this and I'm gonna say that. That's exactly what their arguments or their conversations are like. And so I understand why Mark is so drained. I will give Pastor Cal 2 points. So when they met with the experts, Pastor Cal met with Mark, Dr. Pepper met with Lindsey. And Pastor Cal was able to connect the dots for Mark that this relationship definitely triggered his parents' relationship, and how his mother was very argumentative towards his father, and it triggers him. What happens for Mark is he gets in this freeze mode. He freezes. And it seems that Lindsey views Mark's freezing as retreating. And maybe there is some retreat in there, but I really see it as freezing. It's totally like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to upset her. Everything I do upsets her. And anything I say she's going to view it as a rejection or critique. She talked about how her mother was hypercritical. Like, she got there once Dr. Pepper talked about the anger and how anger is a protector. It really is. Anger is a protector of emotions. And normally what anger is masking is sadness and fear. It really is. And I made a great video about it, so check it on my channel if you would like. But anger is truly masking sadness and fear. And I really see both of those when Lindsey and Mark are communicating with each other. And so, I think that Pastor Cal kind of made some false promises to Mark by saying, well, if you do this, then Lindsey's going to do that. I'm like, Lindsey's a tricky one. I feel like when she is in a space where she is argumentative or she's hurt, or she's feeling pain, she makes sure that she hurts the other person. And Dr. Pepper told her, well, don't do that because that's a criticism, or that could be, that could be viewed as he's reaching out to you, but then you say something negative back. She told Lindsey, don't do this and never do that. And that's just not language that I would use in a session. I know Dr. Pepper's a psychologist. She's not a therapist. I'm more leaning to how can you validate? How can you validate Mark as you want him to validate you? And And Steve hit it on the head. He hit the nail on the head in the after party completely. He said, okay, you're communicating to Lindsey. Just reassure her that, hey, I'm here for you. I love you as a human being. I think you're a great person. And at the same time, we really need to work on how we talk with each other. She needs that reassurance. She really does. It shows that she's got some inner work to do, but she definitely needs that reassurance, as Mark does too. They both do. They're both in the same place where they are, like the expert said at the volleyball game or after the volleyball game. They're both so scared of their emotions. They're both scared of feeling hurt and feeling pain. They freeze up, they lock up. Well, Mark freezes up and locks up. Lindsey attacks. And so they really need to work on loving up their inner child and being able to communicate from a space of vulnerability. I'm hoping Lindsey can receive it. I really don't have much faith in this space and time, just because it seems like the coaching is very short and just like kind of a one time thing or a 2-time thing and then it's done. They need like daily coaching sessions with the experts. And I know a lot of the couples, especially Jasmina and Katina, talked about how they didn't really like talking with the experts. And at the same time, this is an extremely like charged event. This is a very activating experience, because you're putting yourself on national television and you're vulnerable and you're sharing your feelings and you don't know this person. So your fight or flight it's just up. And so having someone to coach you through this would be helpful. I think at least 3 times a week they need to have a meet and catch up and coaching session with the experts to really make these marriages work. I don't think that's happening, so I don't have much faith that Lindsey's going to be able to navigate criticism from Mark or anyone before decision day. Last, we have Katina and Olajuwon. Man, Olajuwon really disappointed me this episode. And it was really even more sad, even though Katina didn't shed any tears through this episode. Her body language throughout this episode really made and really concerned me. Every time he talks, she shrinks. She gets small, her eyes get dim, and she just doesn't talk. And I just don't feel like that's really her go-to. She seems very bubbly. She seems very boisterous. She was able to get with Lindsey in the first couple of weeks. Like, I really see her more as kind of the life of the party, really kind of like Olajuwon is. But because he wants this vulnerability, but it's not creating the space for it. It's all criticism. Even when they went to the grocery store together, there was just like little snide remarks, and they both can't cook. They both cannot cook. They talked about making ribs. One, they called it a rib when it's ribs, plural, and then both of them didn't know how to season ribs. She said salt and pepper. He said just barbecue sauce, and I'm like, okay, we're not getting anywhere here. I feel like they both would benefit from cooking classes, but without Olajuwon's snide remarks and his passive aggressiveness about her and his expectations for a woman to cook for him when he doesn't know how to cook himself. Katina met with Pastor Cal and Olajuwon met with Dr. Pepper, of course, and I could just see that Katina was holding back. And even Pastor Cal kind of called her out on it. Like, she's definitely had some reservations. I really feel that she's got some questions about his temperament, how he speaks to her, how he makes her feel, and also the intimacy piece. Now, Pastor Cal said, that lust is a great thing in marriage, when she was talking about, like, she doesn't want to let sex cloud her judgment, and she used the catchphrase for that, but she doesn't want sex to cloud her judgment. He said, well, you're married, and so lust is good in marriage. Agreed, but this is not a traditional marriage. This is not a traditional marriage. I repeat, this is not a traditional marriage. So they are married at first sight. She is still weighing her options. She didn't pick him. It would be if she picked him and they dated for however long and then they got married. Yes, lust is a beautiful thing. She's in a space where experts chose him for her. She's trying to develop trust to see, is this somebody who I'm going to want to spend the rest of my life with? And I don't want to make a decision that's going to cloud my judgment. I understand it. And if she doesn't feel like she's in a space where she wants to have sex with her husband, then that I respect that choice. And so then we see Olajuwon meet with Dr. Pepper. Again, Olajuwon really disappointed me this episode. I know that what set him off was Dr. Pepper saying, I heard this, and I heard that, and that phrasing. And that's what I felt, and he did confirm in the after party. And at the same time, he needs to be more receptive to critique. He needs to be more receptive to what other people's experiences are of him. Katina doesn't even feel safe enough to tell him, yes, I do feel like you belittle me. She said last episode, I'm a person with real feelings. She's saying, I don't even feel like you're treating me like a human being. That means she feels like she's being belittled. She feels like she's being talked down to. And so he needs to hear that. He needs to hear that. He needs to feel that. And whether that's her not wanting to say that to him on camera, but he said that he asked her and she still didn't say anything. And I don't know if that was on camera or not. And that's just footage we didn't see. But I really need for Katina to truly communicate to Olajuwon her experience of him. And I wonder if she feels safe to do that. That's really my question. I wonder if she really feels safe to do that just because of how he can be when he is receiving critique. And he was posturing so at this volleyball game of, you guys are talking behind my back, and if you're talking about anything about my marriage, you need to be talking about things that are uplifting. I'm like, well, if you were uplifting your wife, then they would be saying that. Now, Steve did give him some brownie points at the after party by saying that Olajuwon will respond to correction once somebody talks to him, and he will adjust or correct. And at the same time, I don't know. It just seems a little off, especially with him saying like he doesn't want to answer the question about if he's going to say yes or no on decision day. He could just say, I don't know. He said, I don't know. There's been some things, and so I'm still holding out. I still want to take more time. The fact that he said, I don't want to answer that question, it just something is really something is really burning my biscuits with that. I don't know what that's about. There's a part of me that feels like, again, this is still just like a testing period. Like he's waiting. Like Katina has proved herself to him, period. In these last 5 weeks, Katina has proven herself to him. He needs to do some proving by showing her, that he can be a space where she can speak from her truth and honestly, because that's what he wants. That's what he wants, and he knows it, and he feels it. He talked about it with Dr. Pepper, that he feels like she isn't fully honest with him. And I'm like, well, if you were creating a space where she wasn't attacked, sounds familiar, Lindsey, that she wasn't attacked for her truth, then maybe she would speak. This couple is showing to me more and more. I'm like really concerned if they say yes on decision day. Just to be honest, I don't know how far they would last outside of decision day because of this relationship dynamic, especially if Olajuwon isn't taking an honest look at himself. That's my take on it. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know how you're feeling about each of these couples and the interesting dynamics that are happening in all of these couples, for sure, as we're getting closer and closer to decision day. Be sure to like the video and, of course, subscribe to the channel. And as always, be cool, be calm, be centered. Peace.